And welcome to Karen Glasser Live interviews with some of the creative voices of today. So, whether you're here live or on replay, make sure to say hi in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. Today, we have an important topic. We are talking about inclusivity and mental health. My guest today is Rob Glasser. He gets real about mental health. As someone who has had challenges, he is doing his best to advocate for inclusion in a world that isn't built for people with disabilities. As a mental health advocate, he is active in the online space, fighting for disability inclusion via online podcasts and shows, as well as bi-weekly wellness events. So, Rob, welcome to the show.
Howdy, everybody.
How are you?
Not too bad. On the opposite side of the screen now, so But other than that, I'm usually up on here anyway.
So, in case you're wondering, yes, this is my son, who I'm extraordinarily proud of for many things, but especially because of what he's doing right now in terms of helping people as a mental health advocate. So, we're going to jump right in, Rob, and I'm just going to ask a question. When somebody says mental health, what do they mean? What is mental health?
So I thought long and hard. I bypassed the informational ones because those are very clinical. A lot of the websites that have it, NAMI, WHO, all that stuff. So I think the best way to put it is your thoughts, your feelings, and how you take care of them. A better term might be emotional health because it's a way of describing, just that, your emotions. So I think for, the ease of people watching, I think that's the best way to go about describing it. It's how you make sure your inside brain is doing okay.
Okay, that makes sense. So, would you say that the whole idea of mental health or mental disabilities or mental challenges has that changed through the years? Is it because it's much more prevalent now? People are talking about it. Are they not talking about it? What has changed?
That's true. I mean, so I'm a big history buff. So when I watch series from way back when, before mental health was a thing, it definitely was looked at a lot differently. So it was kind of a negative thing. It was sometimes even a demonic thing. If you have a mental illness, you might have been possessed. Today, or I guess maybe even recently-ish, there's more trying to figure it out. Like therapists do their thing, regular medical professionals do their thing. But I would say it's good or it's better because it's talked about. It's not necessarily something that's fixable per se,
Right.
But if you bring it up enough, it's on your mind. So that to me is what makes it better than it would have been maybe even 10 years.
Right. So I hear you say a lot, and I've heard a lot of people say this, and in fact, I used it as part of the intro, and that was the word inclusion. So,
Yes.
What do we mean when we say inclusion in terms of mental health?
Okay, so I don't know, tough one to answer directly, but I think in terms of making your day-to-day business easier, allowing your customer or yourself for that matter to be able to do activities or business or whatever, you have to make it easy for different types of challenges, so to speak. If it's okay, I'll run into some of the ones we talked about last week. So delivery to your home is probably the biggest one. Instacart, DoorDash, Uber, whatever it is, you can get dinner delivered, you can get groceries, you can get home improvement stuff because a lot of those companies deal with Home Depot and stuff like that. That's probably the best example. And it's not new. Obviously, delivery has been going on, but I think it hasn't really been thought about until more recently how much better and how much easier it makes the daily person do. And this just goes for anybody, not even if you initially have a challenge, but just generally the ability that you have to go on your phone or call and be like, okay, I need milk, eggs, and whatever.
Right.
and it comes to your door. So that's a very easy example, especially for someone like I who doesn't like to go outside a lot with anxiety. It's easier for me to get my stuff to me because I can get what I need in a much safer fashion. Um, I guess. Oh, I'm sorry.
So, so I would assume that it's that individuals who have some mental challenges, mental health challenges, or physical challenges, or
Right. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Yeah. So
right,
really, anybody with any sort, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, whatever it is, it's going to make your life easier. Now,
right,
on the topic of the physical thing, we do have the inventions of wheelchairs and stuff like that, which have obviously made that type of thing 50 times better because it allows you to
right,
go.
right,
But that's more of the technical. That's like, you make it because, your job as the company is to make it able for somebody to move around. When it comes to this kind of thing, it's not really necessity. I mean, there still are supermarkets, there's still a Home Depot, so you can still go there. This though makes it better for more specifically people with difficulties, but it makes it easier to do
right.
what you would do regularly. But it doesn't stop you from doing it the other way. It just makes it easier for those who can't, I guess,
Right.
go out.
Now, there's also examples, though, of companies out there who have actually gone in the entirely
Yes.
different direction. And you and I have talked about this a lot. In fact, this is where you are very involved as a vocal individual. In fact, I saw a tweet that you did today that got quite a bit of response and action going on about this. And so let's talk a little bit about Niantic.
Oh, okay. We're jumping in there. Okay.
Just jump.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, that's a funny subject now.
Well, first, what is Niantic? What is
Okay, so
Niantic?
Niantic is a app company that focuses on AR, virtual reality. Their focus is mainly giving you apps that you can go outside and explore the real world through your phone, which seems counterintuitive anyway, but that's what AR is. It's real fake life
It's
together.
augmented
Um,
reality. It's kind of
you
cool.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone's doing it today.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they're one of the many people. So before I go into more of that, but generally speaking, obviously you have Microsoft and Xbox, you have Blizzard, you have PlayStation, all these companies. They, the bigger companies before Niantic have already made the implementations to make it easier. So for instance, Xbox has for visually impaired, they have easier reading on the screen. For people with movement with their hands, they have controllers that are easier for you to use. For audible issues, you have people reading to you on the screen. So those companies, I think for a while now, have already gone over that. I think Google does that too as well. So there's a lot of the internet people that are doing that now. For good or not good, when you have a company like Niantic and others as well, gaming is different than it used to be. Gaming is now a job. Gaming you can make money off of. Gaming you win trophies for. ABC will show, I think it's Minecraft competition live, and it's really 100 people sitting in a room on the computer playing a game, which again seems a little odd, but what
That
are you going
seems
to do?
very odd. I can't
Um,
even imagine why that would be entertaining, but okay.
I guess that's, in a way, I guess that's kind of what we're doing too, but, in a different form.
Right.
So gaming has become more of a thing than it was. It's not just a thing you play for a living. With Niantic and other games, the one I do is Pokemon Go. Obviously, you can tell I'm addicted from behind me. They had other ones. They had a Harry Potter one that they had to shut down. They have one called Pikmin Bloom, which basically instead of collecting Pokemon, you collect flowers, and that's their thing. Their ideas behind their apps are to walk around and go out, which generally speaking is not a bad idea. I mean, if you want to walk around your block, if you want to do whatever, if you can,
Right.
go for it. Be my guest. That's not a problem.
Right.
Um, it's become clear that companies like them, it's hard to get a hold of them, and it's hard to get them to listen, or at least to make them think like they're listening. When you live where we do, where it's 120, the weather is a big issue. You don't want to walk outside when it's that hot anyway.
Right.
However, there are places on the East Coast where it's storming and it's hailing, and I guess somebody said it was flooding the other day outside of their house. it's not always just necessarily the mental part, but it's the physical too. And the problem with all of the bubble together with the gaming here is it's one thing to ask a question, have them come back and say, we can or cannot because. When you ask a question and you get a very generic robot answer or no answer,
Right.
it becomes clear
They
that there's
don't
a
care.
problem.
Right, right.
And that's the issue.
But if I recall, and let's go back 2 years, and when we were living through a pandemic, we're living through COVID, and in fact, my understanding is that they did some of these things. They brought them in so that because they knew people couldn't go
So
out.
yeah, so they
They
called
have
them
the
bonuses.
capability,
Yeah,
right?
so they called them bonuses, which are now taken away because they're no longer a bonus. People called them a quality of life change, which is a different term, obviously. The bonuses would consist of being able to do more from home. So incense, which is something used in the game, is stronger when you're not moving. You can remotely raid together. So if there's a gym in New York and you have a friend that lives there, you can raid in New York from California via this
Right,
pass. Things like that. So they call them bonuses, and they make it very clear when they respond. This is what they had planned all along. And again, fine, whatever. That's their call. They can do what they want.
right,
It's and really, the it's not on me or others to really say what they're doing. They're the business. They make their decision. They do what they want. And actually brings up something really quick that I was reading for a video I did last week. That even though the government has ways to control this stuff, it's really the business that has the bottom line. So because I was at home talking to my wife, we were talking about it, and we came to the conclusion that this is not something that you go to your governor for. This is not something you
right,
go to your people for, because that's real life people. They deal with physical
right,
things.
right.
You can't call up your governor and say there's a company online that's
It's not being
discriminating.
inclusive. That's
What do
not
you do? They're going to be like, that's not my area because, and that's fair because that isn't what they do. So that was the one thing I kind of wanted to remember to bring up was that, it's
so they rely on people like you to be activists basically, right? And I use the word activist because you are literally a mouthpiece for other people and who for can't do it themselves. Maybe that is their disability. Who knows? But the
right.
fact that you're doing this and helping, and I have to believe it's frustrating when you don't get a response, or the response you get is ridiculous, or those kind of things. So this is definitely a company that's not doing what they could be doing to be inclusive. Is that basically what
More
we're
or
saying?
less. I mean, it's I can't think of another word, but yeah, I mean, basically, you can tell when somebody is being kind of a little dumb, so to speak, but when the people are smart enough and they just aren't doing it. So I know these people are bright. Obviously, they took a franchise, and to be clear, because I always want to make sure the Pokemon company they are part of this, obviously, because they gave the rights to the franchise.
Right.
But I always want to be, clear. What I like about the game is that I like the Pokemon. I have my little dudes all over my room. Um, so I like the aspect, and that's why I got into the game. I like the anime. I like the mangas. I like all the stuff. So that's what it was, and it's partially also insulting for that because it's kind of like taking your childhood livelihood
Mm,
and kind of screwing with it
yeah.
and then laughing about it. So it's both sides. It's the fact that they know they can do things, and for some reason, and again, they might be hatching some sort of plan, and all of a sudden they're going to be like, "Poof, we're all good again."
Right.
But it's the waiting game, plus it's the kind of like you're insulting an entire group of '90s kids that grew up with
Right. Right.
you know.
Exactly. So I want to jump into something that is really not to do with inclusivity exactly, but it has to do with mental health and having structure in your life and having the ability to have schedules and routines and the importance of doing that. And also the importance of having a person or persons around you helping you. How does that work?
Okay, well, actually, in a weird way, because when I was playing the game, that was kind of part of my day. So I'd always take a couple, an hour to go on the game and play. But yeah, scheduling generally, which I know everybody's been doing since the dawn of time, but scheduling in general allows you to not necessarily think too hard
Right.
and just kind of do your thing. So, I have days where I do certain things, I have times I do certain things, whatever. Obviously, we're not into getting my schedule here, but generally speaking, on a regular weekday or a regular day, um, I have what I do for a
Right.
reason. The second part about having the surrounding around you is definitely helpful too, because obviously if you're in the same household with somebody and you have to kind of explain to them what's going on, it's good to have them go, oh,
I
I
get
see
that.
why you're doing what you're doing. But generally, yeah, when it comes to, and this is kind of where I like to educate and why, like, I like the advocate, but I also like being the educator too, because I like to explain why that kind of thing works. But definitely, it makes the day just kind of go by as it should. No need to stop and think, no need to concern. You wake up, you know what you're doing, and then when you do have the off hours, you can then go, okay, well, I did what I got to do. Now let's go play a game, or now let's go
Right. I
do this.
agree. I have to tell you, I understand exactly. As you know, I'm very calendar oriented. I'm very task list oriented. I'm very structured because when I am not, I feel out of control,
Yes.
it affects my mental health because I don't feel like I'm now in control. So that is something that works for me. And for those of you who are listening in right now, that's something you might want to consider if you have some mental health challenges. And we're going to go through some other things right now, but that's something easy that you can actually do on your own, right, in your own
Yeah.
home, wherever you are in your work, and actually create that schedule to keep you together. So
Yeah.
I want to jump into what laws or rules in play. You kind of touched on it. You said the government really can't help.
Yeah, okay. So as far as things like for physical disabilities, obviously you have companies and online now that has to have certain things. So your websites need to be big and bold. You can't have too many flashy colors. You have to make sure you have black and white screen depending. And then as far as in real life, wheelchair ramps, ability to open doors without having to push the door. And again, a lot of these things have been around for a while, but you don't always think about it until you look back and go, oh, that's a really great invention, because so you have stuff like that. And again, place to place differs. So things that we have in California will be different on the other side just because of where we are. So for, kind of like the natural disasters, we have earthquake protection,
Right,
whereas the other side has snow protection because,
right,
they don't get earthquakes as much as, we do. So those are the laws and rules. And I think, again, I don't watch the news a lot, but I think from what seems to be going on, they're tweaking as they go. So as things come up, the government, for what they can do, will say, oh, this seems like a cool idea. Let's see if we can put this into here. And it may not go for everybody. Maybe
right.
it'll just be, California, Nevada, and Arizona, and that's it. Maybe it'll be the country. So those are the kind of things that are already in play.
So let's talk a little bit about remote work. For some of us, I've been working remotely most of my life, and I know that you work remotely.
Mm-hmm.
But with the pandemic and with everything that was going on, everybody was working remotely for a while, right?
Yes.
And my guess is for those who had mental health challenges, it could have either have been a really good thing or a really bad thing. Not being able to get out. I know that there has been a very big rise in mental health challenges during this time frame that we're in. But it also could be a really good thing because if you are challenged by having OCD or social anxiety or whatever you have, not having to go out and not having to be in an environment
Right.
that is uncomfortable, actually is almost like everybody got to do what you do, right? You do it at home and do it at home. Do you see that the people that you are in communications with that have mental health disabilities, are they going to stay home now? Is that what they're looking to do? Is to continue to work remotely because when they realized they could do it? I mean,
Um, I don't know. I think everybody's kind of personally making their individual
mhm,
things. Some people seem to like it. Some people seem to hate it, just like you said. Um, it'll be interesting to see. I don't. I would think some of the people I talk to, they probably prefer it. Some people I know have to because of their physicality. Um, but I can see how some people I talk to probably want to go back out and do their thing too. So
Right.
you know, it's that's the
You
one
like
thing I.
having you like having the option, and I
Yeah, I
think
mean, for me personally, I like having the option. Yes, as far as other people, that's one of the few things I really don't know because it's such a
right.
everything's changing that who knows what you're going to do tomorrow.
Eggs.
But
Good
yeah,
point. Good point. So let's talk a little bit about now what's out there for mental health help. For if you're
right.
listening right now, and I'm going to use the word trigger. That is a word that is actually used, I believe, in mental health situations where you might watch something and you say, "I'm triggered." And what does that mean? What does the word triggered mean in the mental health
Oh,
environment?
excuse me. I almost choked on myself. That is not a trigger. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Well, it depends. So there's it's for me. It seems to be kind of like a memory thing too. It could be good or bad. You could read up on something that goes, "Oh, I remember doing that when I was a kid," or you can see something and go, "Oh," and it kind of knocks you out of your sorts, depending on your sensitivities, I guess.
Mhm.
I because of triggers, I've never actually looked up the definition personally, but I think from knowing what I've seen and what I've known, triggers, most of the time it's usually bad because it's not necessarily something you want to think about, but it can be, you can use it in a positive way, and kind of reframe your brain in a way.
Right.
But one way or the other, it's something that will make you think of something else that will either stick in your brain or maybe kind of make you smile because it's like, I remember doing that.
Good memory.
Yeah,
A trigger is in my, I think I would define it, I think trigger on the gun, you're gonna let it go.
yeah,
I think that trigger basically has an emotion. You end up having an emotion about it, whether it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, but you are triggered by it. So
right.
for those people who are watching right now, you're tuning in, and we're talking about mental health. It could be triggering you. We want to give you some resources of places that you can go to actually get some information. So the NIMH, what does that stand for?
National Institute of Mental Health.
And it's a governmental
Yeah,
website.
it's one of the few. It's similar. Well, no, I'm sorry. NAMI, I think, is state owned. So this is one of the few that's actually government, widespread throughout USA. And I think they do other places, but I'm not sure. But I know for sure for United States, they have a lot. It's similar to like what the WHO does for general health.
Right.
These guys do for mental health.
So to get information, to research, to find out more, one might go to this site, correct?
Yeah, I think there's a search bar at the top, and you can type in whatever you might be interested, and they should bring you down a bunch of articles and resources and stuff you can read through.
So the next resource is ADA. And what is
So
that?
the American Disability Act. So it's government, but it's actually a piece of paper, which I learned recently. I thought it was a group. It's actually not. It's literally just a
Document.
document. But this is the one that gives the yes or the no to what you can and cannot do. This is the one that continuously updates.
Mhm.
I guess it's actually not that old. Apparently, I think it's 1998
Oh,
is when it actually first really started. So up until then, there was no set
yeah.
thing. Um, there's online versions which I don't come to mind right now, but this is if you're looking for to see if your business or company might be doing something not so hot,
Oh, okay.
this might have some resources to do.
Good.
Obviously, be careful what you're reading and doing. But if you have a question, you might want to go to here to see
Okay.
what your personal rights might be
Right.
for.
And the next thing, is suicide prevention. So what I want to say about this before you give me your information about this, if you're watching this and you are having these feelings, you want to reach out to somebody. You want
Yeah,
to reach out to the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Reach out to somebody in your circle. that to talk to them, and that's so important.
Yeah.
So the suicide prevention, are there live people on the other end when you go to the website?
Yeah, I probably should have grabbed the phone number, but when you go to the website, I believe at the top there's the phone number,
If you
and
give
you can,
so okay, we'll go check it out later. Right.
yeah, so you can get the phone number from them. Um, I believe, I don't know, I believe even like 911 you can call and tell them you're having a emergency personally. They might
Right.
send somebody to. So stuff like that. There's phone numbers everywhere. But I know this one is a popular one to be promoted, not in
Right.
a, you know, but yeah, they have a phone number to use. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that's newer to me because you would not think of having a phone number, maybe 20 years ago.
Right.
I don't know how long they've been around. I'm sure they've been around for a while, but
Right.
it's a good one. It's not necessarily one you want to have on hand, but it's good one to have in your brain. And
Right.
I think even if you just type in the word suicide prevention, the phone number comes up on Google automatically.
Right, right. And I think for
So,
family members of people of their family members that have mental health disabilities or challenges, if like you as my son, you have challenges, and you are making a life for yourself because of those challenges, which is pretty awesome. You can tell I'm a proud mom. Um,
thank you.
so this is what I want to do before I give you some last minute thoughts. I want to let people know how they can follow you. Now, I alluded to the fact that you do weekday, everyday videos on mental health and on nerdy things and all sorts of stuff. So we're going to encourage people to go follow you on YouTube at Altered Universe, and you will find all of Rob's videos. He also has a podcast, and you can find him on Spotify. Just type in Altered Universe Live. You
All
can
one
find
word, I believe.
Yeah, it's all one word. But I think actually you can just type it in; it will find you.
Okay.
Twitch, he's on Twitch now. Twitch is a gaming platform, correct?
Mainly gaming, but if you look hard enough, you'll find people doing podcasts now and people doing other things too. But yeah, it's a specific gaming one, but it's very popular. It's definitely a lot easier if you're looking to use something to grow. It's not as specific as YouTube is. You
Ah,
only need I mean, think 50 people to get your thing off the ground, and they allow you to yeah, there's still the rules. Obviously, if you put up something not appropriate, they'll take it down, but. It's become probably one of the better ones as far as gamers, but it's opening it up to other
interesting.
video people.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Now, I mentioned also that you are very active on Twitter. And for those of you who don't play on Twitter and you go, oh, Twitter, I don't know what to do with it. It's literally a conversation. And what happens is that if you have a following, however big it is or however small, and you comment on somebody's tweet and they comment back, and then you comment back, what do you have now? You have a conversation. And so your conversations on Twitter tend to be, I mean, not all of them, but tend to be you are being an activist, you're being an advocate for inclusivity. So I encourage people to go check it out and get part of the conversation. And last but certainly not least, you also have a visibility on LinkedIn. And I just realized as I'm talking to you, we didn't give them your website. So I'm going to
Oops.
go ahead. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask you to give some last minute thoughts on those people who maybe have health challenges, mental health challenges. They realize that where they are, it's not as inclusive as it should be. Any suggestions for these people as I type out your website and put it up?
All right. Well, I mean, I'll just kind of say that and kind of give you just some final thoughts too, as well. So yeah, I mean, the biggest deal here, and I think it's aimed towards companies and businesses and such. The one we didn't bring up that I kind of want to be really quick was the Living Desert, um, which is a zoo by us, and they actually have a sensory bag for people who have
Wow.
high functioning anxiety. You get fidget toys. You have headphone or earmuffs, whatever they are. There's quiet zones at the zoo, so if you kind of need a decompression time, you can stop. The map actually tells you where to not go at certain times because it gets busier because those are the animals you want to see. Um, so that I think is the most important thing here to do is you don't have to be humongous business to know what you're doing. And if a zoo in a small area can do that, so can a bigger business too. And it's not calling out anybody. I mean, a lot of people are doing it well. You know, I mentioned like Google, Microsoft. They're doing it pretty good for the most part. They're like 98% there. But I would say the biggest thing is if you have some sort of a difficulty or problem, you know, write your letters, call your congressman, whatever it is you do.
Mhm.
Call up the people that you think have some pull in your area. They might not have an immediate or an exact answer, but they can at least pass on the note. They can at least send you to somebody else, you know, give you an email. So I would say that's the most important thing. It's doing what you do for you is fine. But if you're looking to kind of like expand that to others and everybody else, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, you got to go to the big people that are running the world, so to speak, and those are the men and the women are that should have the ability. I say should because obviously,
Right.
but I would say that's my biggest thing to tell people is write people, email people, call them, do whatever you do, and like you said, start conversing. And at some point, someone's going to hit and go, "Oh, okay,"
Right.
and that's when you continue your speech to them.
Like your tweet today, and there was a woman who you actually for you retweeted something that she wrote, and
Yes.
he responded back to you. So now, for those of you who don't know how social media works, that's how it works. Now Rob is in the vision of this very powerful woman who is actually involved in this. Well, I put your website up. What are people going to see on your? It's a very cool website, by the way. But what are people going to find over there
Well, the
besides?
first thing you'll see is Pokemon, of course. No, we have a whole bunch of things. We have our blogs that vary from nerd to educational. We have some freebies on there, coloring pages, arts and crafts, all that good stuff too, because that's something else we like to do at home is arts and crafts because it's fun. Um, I believe we have some of our videos up there as well, so if you want to check them there. And we're we're updating as we go. So anytime we have a new video or a new event, or whatever, we'll put up the information there.
And they can
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
and they can go on your mail list, your email list. So
Yeah, yeah,
whenever
we have the subscribe, and that way you won't miss out on all the fun stuff. And
right.
we have a monthly email we send out and all that too. So
Yeah, you don't spam people. I can attest to that.
I
But
try
get on
not
the
to.
list because there are some free downloads in there. And the reason why you have the arts and crafts and stuff like that is because it's really good for mental health, and it's really all of that stuff. So we do connect the dots here. Rob, thank you for being on the show. This is a treat for me, obviously, but thank you for being on the show. I want to thank all of our viewers. You have a choice as to where you spend your time. You chose to spend it with Rob and I today. We want to thank you. Go out and give someone an awesome day, and we'll see you next time on the next Karen Glasser Live. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, guys.